Camera's live, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the regular board meeting of March 24th, 2021, almost a quarter through this year already. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize this meeting is taking place on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people. And with that, we will get underway. Ms. Legault, are there any additions or changes to today's agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have the addition of 3 closed session items that were referred from the Regional Services Committee this morning, so CSNB 1, 2, and 3. And we have the addition of the Regional Services Committee report of this morning, item NB1.
Thank you. And with those additions, Director Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to bring for consideration the Regional Services item NB1 be referred to the closed session of this meeting under section 90.1E of the Community Charter and 90.2B of the Community Charter. There's significant other discussion that should be had around this item. We could report out afterwards, but I think it should be part of the closed session.
Thank you. Ms. Legault, would that motion be entertained before adoption of the agenda?
I think it could be included as part of adopting the agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you. So if we amend the agenda with all the noted changes, if I can have the motion moved, that's moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Nicholson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Moving on to the adoption of minutes from the regular board meeting of March 10th, 2021. If there's no errors or omissions, a motion to adopt the minutes. Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Salmon. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to public input period. And we have one participant, and that is Dave Mundy, and I'm just bringing him into the meeting.
Welcome, Mr. Mundy. Can you hear us?
Yes, Director.
Thank you. And you do have 3 minutes, so please go ahead.
Okay, yes, I was talking to you last week. It's about agenda item 6, which is the soil disposal permit for the Stebbings Road property. So I sent a letter in, and there was a graphic attached to the letter which showed it was put together by the Ministry of Environment, and it showed the results of testing at various soil disposal sites, which included the site that's under permit application on a different portion of that same lot. So basically, it identified that there were a number of metals that were of concern: sodium, chromium, copper, and polyaromatic hydrocarbons. So it is the Shawnigan Basin Society's mandate to take care of the watershed. So one of the points I didn't make last week was that because of these contaminants of concern, really as part of this permit, we should be looking at doing water quality monitoring. Ideally, that would be Van Horn Creek, tributaries A and B, which are on the property, and ideally well water, because these large terraforming projects can affect both the aquifers and the surface water. So I just wanted to make that point. I don't know your process and how you could make monitoring effectively a condition of the permit, but it would, in this case, because those contaminants are there, it would be good to get some baseline measurements now, and then you would have that moving forward to monitor the project as it proceeds.
Thank you very much. So in the public input portion, just for your understanding, we don't comment or discuss your input, but we will take when that item comes forward, and then directors on the board, should they wish to speak to it further, have that opportunity at that time. So we want to thank you for your input. Is there anything else you'd like to say in your allotted time?
No, I think that's fine, as long as you're aware that there is a way to move forward with this. We are looking at that public consultation session as an opportunity to talk to the owner. But if we could make some monitoring, and again, there's mechanisms within CVRD, the water quality and watershed protection program, for example, where this monitoring could be accommodated.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right, you too.
And that's all we have for public input today, Ms. Legault. Thank you very much. So we'll move on with our agenda. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is delegations, and item D1 is Judy Stafford, Executive Director, Cowichan Green Community, regarding a year in review for information.
Thank you. And I'm looking around my screen. Oh, there you are. It's so many faces on such a small screen. Welcome, Ms. Stafford. Judy, nice to see you again, even if it's not quite in person yet. Please go ahead with your delegation.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Boy, I was thinking as I was getting ready for this that I was watching you guys at 9:30 this morning. I just have to acknowledge all of you that have been there and how long days you put in. I've done 100 things since 9:30, so I just want to, just appreciate all the hard work that you guys do, and that even in these weird times, we still have the opportunity to engage with you and come and just give our annual update on what we've been doing. And so we have our video. We've had challenges at playing it for North Cowichan, so I'm hoping that this is going to work. So we'll just play the video, and then I'm available for questions, and I have a couple of updates. Things that have happened already this year that aren't in the video.
Thank you.
So
And just to the directors, I would recommend if we stop our video while hers is playing, it might minimize the bandwidth challenges we may have. But go ahead, Judy.
Okay, I'm not putting the video. I think you guys are playing the video. I've sent it.
So staff, are you able to get that video rolling?
I don't believe we have that video. We haven't been sent the link.
Yeah, I did send it.
Is it on YouTube, Judy?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can find it and share it if I have share screen.
Or just give us one moment. Who did you send it to, Judy?
I guess when I sent in my delegation request.
Okay, just one
You
moment.
can share it in the chat too. And then it can be played from the CVOD.
I've got it open in my YouTube right now. So stop it. Do I have capacity to share screen, or do you guys want to do that? Can I send it in the chat?
So, Ms. Legault, I would defer to staff on some recommendation here. If we're able to get the video link, then we should be able to share it so that the community can see it as well as the directors. Or is that possible?
We should be able to play it.
Okay. So just give us a moment, Judy. We won't penalize you for time.
Well, I can keep talking.
Well, feel free to while we sort it out. And then Ms. Legault, if you can step in if you think, or unless you're ready to play the video now.
I'm trying to share it in the chat, but it doesn't let me. So
Tell us some other new stuff you're doing.
okay.
I mentioned the hub this morning, but
Yes.
100,000 times more than I do.
Yeah, so already this year, because the video is all about last year. So this year, well, actually December 23rd, the video was already done. We received notification from the Ministry of Agriculture that Cowichan was going to be one of the food innovation hubs, agriculture hubs. So we received now $800,000 directly from the province, and we're designing a new commercial kitchen that will be utilized by the community for value-added processing. And we're also
It's my hand when I'm trying to chair the meeting. Sorry, Ms. Legault was trying to, and just to the directors, if I'm chairing the meeting, please let me try and run the meeting. We're going through a bit of a technical challenge. So Ms. Legault, you were going to, I think you can play the video.
We don't have the link to the video, so we're just looking up on the Couch and Green Communities website. It wasn't included in the application form.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, Judy, it's not in the application form, or I would have
Okay.
sent it along, but
Okay.
if staff can find it, then
Can I email it to you? I have it right here. It won't let me put it in the chat.
Okay, I've just made you,
Oh, there it is. Send it to you privately, Legislative Services.
okay, thanks.
okay, just give staff a moment. We'll get the video played and then we can resume our discussions. Thanks, Judy.
Okay.
Thank you. It looks like we're getting there. So we'll do our best to watch the video and hopefully we can hear it as well. So hopefully we've got the volume cranked on there. And once the video is done, we'll resume our discussion. Thank you, Judy. We have no sound.
It's just music at this point.
But we can't hear it, so we won't be able to hear the sound, is what you're saying?
Due to how the audio is set up for this podium laptop in the boardroom, the audio might not work for this video through this laptop. So Angie's going to try to share it from hers, and we'll see if the audio will play for you guys that way.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we still have no audio. It's the configuration, the way you set up WebEx, so you can play the audio from your microphone or from the video. But unfortunately, it seems that we don't have the technicality. I don't know, Judy, do you want us to leave the video running and you can speak to it live? No. Well, we can watch it without. My apologies. I'm sorry we weren't more prepared. If you like, we.
No, that's okay. And I apologize too, because I was North Cowichan wasn't able to run it that way. And in my mind, I had spoken to somebody at the CVRD, but you know, my mind may be a mysterious thing. So I think if we just send everyone a link after, we can watch it on your own.
Yeah, we'll distribute it by email and maybe we can share it via social media as well for the community, just so that they can see it because they'll miss this opportunity to see it. So I'll follow up with that on staff, but in the meantime, we're welcome to have you here and so thankful for your work. So please go ahead.
Well, yes, 2020 was a busy year. You'll see in the video. We ran all of our programming and some. We were obviously, lots of things were shut down because of COVID. And, I think one of the main things for our organization is that we didn't have any layoffs. We didn't have any downtime. It was quite the opposite. We hired more people. The demand on our services increased dramatically. So we were fortunate to receive a significant amount of COVID emergency food funding with people, organizations that we are partnered with, including like Victoria Foundation, Community Food Centers Canada, Second Harvest. So there was a significant amount of emergency food funding, and Cowichan Green Community set up a emergency food task force last March. It's still running to this day. We meet every other week as a group. There's about 25 of us that provide food to the community that continue to meet. Ladysmith, Lake Cowichan, other community organizations participate, First Nations groups, and every couple of weeks we talk about where's food going, who still needs emergency supplies, what hampers need to go out. We were under major construction actually at our building because of COVID. They thought, well, they might as well, since downtown is shut down, they might as well rip up our street. We were still so busy. We were hand bombing hampers of food over the cement trucks, and I'm sure WorkSafe BC would have had a nightmare if they'd watched us what we were still doing. So none of this is in the video, by the way. Anyway, just to give you a sense of how extraordinarily busy we were, and I'm just grateful that we were able to stay open, and we renovated our little grocery store. So we have it's a full-on grocery store now. We provide 100 families $25 a week in free groceries. We've been running that since last May, and it still goes to this day. It's one of those programs that now is kind of essential. We work very closely with the temporary housing folks. We supply food to them. We do the meal program for the hotel and the site 3 nights a week. So yeah, needless to say, we've been busy. Our summer camp was phenomenal last year. I think school had been shut down. So by July, parents were just like, take the kids. So we had a great year at summer camp. And then I guess the big news is what we're doing on Beverly Street at the Garden Education Center. So that's where we're trying very hard to set up the food hub. I'm not good with permits, for those of you who know me. So I have a meeting at 3 with North Cowichan again to hopefully navigate our building permits and get the zoning all sorted out for that, to host the commercial kitchen. And the co-op, who's our sister organization, they've been located out at Hope Farm. They're going to move down to Beverly Street as well. So we're all back together again, which is great. And we work really closely with them. So that's our major project for this year. Other than just obviously the COVID relief and food programming will obviously continue. We just received another grant for the co-op yesterday. I can't say who it's from, but it's going to allow for a lot more efficient processing through the co-op. As you may or may not know, the online farmers market was really struggling. We helped them start 2014, I think, and it's been a tough go. When COVID hit, people decided, online farmers market ordering seems like a good idea, and they went from $2,500 a week sales to $25,000 in 1 week. They did over $600,000 of sales last year, so it's absolutely phenomenal. The online farmers market is I'm just so proud of them and the work they're doing now. Yeah, so I could go on, but I won't. I'll let you watch the video, and I'm very grateful to everyone. I know that when we originally were trying to apply for the Minister of Agriculture funding, I called everyone in a big panic. I needed letters of support. I needed all this stuff. And the CVRD is actually our financial partner. If you don't know that, the Ministry of Agriculture said, we're going to give you, $800,000, but we can't give it to you. We have to give it to your local government. And, Talitha and Aaron and Barry have just been so amazing. We had like just emergency meetings and sub agreements drawn up, and it was all just that had to happen so quickly. And I'm really, really grateful for the support we've seen from our local government. I can't even tell you, this project would not have happened. There's another community that received the money, and they only just got their local government sign off about 3 weeks ago. So you can imagine the challenges that other communities have had. So I want to put a shout out to all the staff at the CVRD and everyone, especially Barry, who's been helping us. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks. So I don't have any questions. I just want to say that, in a really challenging year, and the work that you've all been doing is challenging too, because you're interfacing with folks that are in great need. And I know that when you care and do your work kind of from a heart first perspective, a lot of those things are really challenging on a human scale for all of the work that you guys do, but somehow still managed to provide a bit of a bright light in a pretty dark time for a lot of people. And, this year it's been about trying to count blessings and silver linings within sort of a really challenging framework. And I just want to say that, even a couple little text messages back and forth and stuff have been really supportive to all of us. And I think that your work is one of those silver linings in a really difficult year. So I'm so happy to hear that you've been so successful during a really challenging time, and hope that is a sign of good things to come. And based on your history, I have all the confidence that it will. So I'll turn it over to other board members for questions or comments. And we will all watch the video. Again, one of those nice things that we get to do, so it won't go unseen. Director Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Judy. I think we need to make you a superhero, from housing to seeds to teaching people to cook to that community kitchen to having your offices in a building that you own. I mean, you're just a superstar, and you were going to send me a list of all the things you've done, but of course you're busy doing them, so you forgot. So I don't remember them all, but I bet you it's like this long in the years that you've been doing it, like every year. And I did see the video. I guess because I donate or something, it must have got sent. So it's a fantastic video. I recommend everyone to watch it. But I mean, I would love to get all of those videos strung together someday and just see all the things that you've done. And I'm really, really thankful to have you and your staff in our valley. It has made it so much more resilient.
Thank you. It would be pretty funny. Our first video my daughter made on something called Movie Maker. And I was presenting at the CVRD, and she had to put it on a thumb drive, and it used to take about 3 hours to render. And I remember standing at the podium with no thumb drive in my hand and my daughter running it over. Oh yeah. So we've had video glitches for about 14 years. So it's nothing new.
That's how we grow.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone's hands? Sorry, Michelle. Director Staples and then Nicholson.
Audio locks every time so yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge Judy, for when COVID first hit, for taking on the food distribution the way that you did for the entire region. I don't know, I have brought updates to the board in the past about all the different numbers of people in all of our jurisdictions that the Cowichan Green community supported during the beginning of COVID, and continues to support now in terms of the expanded numbers of food deliveries, the incredible partnerships that, and Judy Judy agreed to, chair this whole unknown thing, and the Couch and Green community was the distribution center for so much of the food that went out to the community. And you already had that in place, and it was like you were preparing for all of this without knowing it was coming. And I just really want to acknowledge you for doing that, because it took a lot. It was long, long, long days. And I know, having seen some of the results and heard from many people that have been impacted and have been a part of that, the significant difference that it's made to a lot of people's lives, and the significant difference it's made to the connections in our communities. Because at that group that feeds our community sits people from every First Nation, I believe, now sits at that table. Every food distribution group in the community come and work together to do this. And I just want to recognize, because you're the one that led that, and there's many other people who sit on that committee that have been there throughout the whole thing. And I just really want to thank and recognize you for that, and that whole group. It's the best. When I do get to visit there, which is very rarely on those Zoom calls, it is truly the one that makes my heart explode about, how many incredible people we have, from bus drivers, coming from the school district to help, all the stories of the changes in people's lives, the real changes that has helped to make. So thank you.
Thank you. I have Director Nicholson and then Morrison, and then if I've missed anyone, just raise your hand and I'll get you on the list. Director Nicholson.
Thank you, and thank you, Judy. The Green community is a marvelous place. I am looking forward. I would be interested to hear more about the Food Hub initiative and food processing in general that you have planned.
So the idea is to build a commercial kitchen. And so we have the one in our building that we've been renting out since we started, and it's oversubscribed now with our own programming. Mostly we now do Meals on Wheels and the community meals for the shelters. So the demand for a centralized processing kitchen that will also be HACCP certified is what we're actually in the phases of right now. We have the design, we have everything into North Couch, and we're just going through some paperwork. So the main focus will be the kitchen. It's also to deliver training. It's also to provide cold and dry storage. So there'll be walk-in freezers, walk-in coolers. There'll be a warehouse. There'll be a training facility. We're also working with another potential tenant who also needs a HACCP kitchen. So we're looking at hopefully putting together a second kitchen on the site. And then we also have expanded greenhouse production on the farm.
Can I just have a follow-up? I had heard a rumor that you were also looking into maybe a mobile slaughter thing.
I did write a grant for a mobile abattoir, and unfortunately I didn't get it. Can you believe that? I don't know. I was like, come on now. I probably had more grants already this year be successful. We just got $200,000 for the co-op a couple of days ago. But the mobile abattoir, I did not get it. Because that would have been a big one, yeah.
Well, it says a lot when you're expecting to get them rather than us who are more like crossing our fingers we might get one of several.
No. Oh, no. I even call them and say, what?
All right. Director Morrison's next. Anyone I've missed, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and great work, Judy. And quick question, and then I'll follow up with a comment. What about your fantastic local breakfast fundraiser? Are you going to try and get that back onto the schedule at some point when COVID will allow it?
Well, we did a virtual, so that was a few weeks ago. I'm sorry, Director Morrison, if somehow that didn't get to you. As you can imagine, it was quite challenging to organize. But we did a Zoom breakfast. And actually, it was our most successful fundraiser we've ever had. So go figure.
And my comment is, I just want to, thank not just you, but your team. And I know that you've had people come and go, and the success of your organization is all those hardworking people that make up your team. And I just want to note that early on, when we started to fund special projects and vehicles and that sort of thing, you were challenged to bring your organization out into the more rural areas of the regional district. And I really appreciate when people follow up on their words and their deeds, and they deliver. And I know that your organization is thought quite highly of in the western part of our region. So good on you, and keep up the good work, and thank you.
Well, the van definitely goes out there. Funding, we did have a little bit of funding to set up a rural emergency food program, which we set up in Lake Cowichan. We're now going out there 2 days a week. People are lining up for over an hour at the food market that's being set up there. That funding for that program is over, but we are committed to still continuing to go out there twice a week and bring the food out, because I know the demand out there is just as high, and maybe even higher, just because of not necessarily being in a more central location. So we are continuing to do that. But yes, you're welcome. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Thank you, Judy. I don't see any other hands. I just want to say, I think it's pretty universal how appreciative we are, and just you've always promised and over-delivered, and that's always such a welcome thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you in person.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. All right, and with that, we will resume our agenda. Thank you for all the patience during the technical challenges, and I do recognize I saw a chat thing. It seems to be that there's intermittent technical issues everywhere. I'm having some intermittent bandwidth challenges as well, so we'll all try and be patient after they hopefully subside. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to committee commission reports. Item CR1 is the report and recommendations of the Community Services Committee meeting of March 10th, 2021.
And over to Director Nicholson.
So your Community Services Committee recommends that a grant application of up to $450,000 be submitted to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities Fire Smart Economic Recovery Fund program. I move that.
Thank you. Moved by Director Nicholson, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Item CR2, report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of March 17th, 2021.
Director Yanni DiNardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The report recommends recommendation from 1 through 5, I believe. First, I move those.
And seconded by Director Smith. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Director Yanni DiNardo.
Yes, Mr. Chair, electoral area directors only, 6 through 10. Please.
Thank you. Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Salmon. Any discussion? Director Salmon.
Pull number 6, please.
Thank you. We'll remove number 6 from the block. Back to the block. Any discussion on the remaining items in the block? Seeing none, I'll call the question for electoral area directors only. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. So we're back on to number 6. Director Salmon.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the one we heard from in the public input, and I think that offer of water testing is a good idea given the past elevated levels on this site. So I'm just maybe through to staff as far as thoughts on that, and if funding is there funding within this function for that, or will we look? Will we have to look elsewhere for that?
Mr. McDonald.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Currently in the bylaw, there's no requirement for this kind of testing. So I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Director Salmon, follow up? We'll hear from Mr. Carruthers and then we'll go back to Director Salmon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a complex issue. I think it would be difficult to answer that question on the fly. There's some jurisdictional issues around monitoring for contamination in the environment. That is clearly a Ministry of Environment role to play. But if the board was so inclined, we could certainly provide some information on what kind of options are available. But I think to answer that question on the fly without the appropriate kind of research would not do the answers justice.
Thank you. Back to you, Director Salmon.
Yeah, it's Director Acton's hand up, so.
I'm just giving you a follow-up and then I'll go to Director Acton. No follow-up at this time? Okay, go ahead, Director Acton. Oh, go ahead.
I'm fine for now.
Okay, Director Acton.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I was trying to talk.
Yeah, I was waving my hand as well. I'm not sure if you see
Yeah,
it.
there's something wrong with WebEx. I apologize. I just went to viewing all screens. For some reason, it's not popping up people when they turn their video on. So I've got you there now. Director Wilson, I have you next on the speakers list after Director Acton. Go ahead, Director Acton.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it would be important to understand what we're saying yes to here. It is a good idea. I think we've already talked about before looking at this bylaw and how we could incorporate some testing. But on the fly, I'm a little hesitant as well, knowing that we've had the SPS do some testing in the past, and just the lab fees were in the thousands of dollars. So yeah, it would just be a challenge as to what exactly we are agreeing to, what kind of program. And then we probably it would probably have to be like a baseline and everything. So this is not the right time, I think, to add this to the applicant or to the regional district, but something that we definitely should be bringing up with our lawyer and reviewing the bylaw.
Thank you. I'll go to Director Wilson if I don't see staff wanting to speak on that comment, and then I might have a suggestion, but go to Director Wilson first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This feeling of deja vu that we've been here before, especially when the question of water testing came up here in Area C. And there was a huge discussion on jurisdiction and who does what and who's responsible for what. And at that time, one of the points that I brought up was that this was a matter of some urgency, and the same thing applies here. The water testing is of the utmost importance, not just to one person, but to the whole community. And if we're going to go around the same route again of discussing who does what, where, instead of actually doing something, then we're just wasting our time. We're just wasting our breath. What I'm saying here is, yes, the water needs to be tested. The funding for the water testing for my area came from the watershed protection, as far as I recall. There is no reason why we can't discuss doing exactly the same thing here and making sure that our aquifers and our lakes are protected. And I don't understand why there's any reluctance here to actually go ahead with the testing of that water. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would put this through to staff, but we're talking about a soil permit under a prescribed bylaw. And my understanding in reviewing the bylaw is that there's no requirement for water monitoring under the bylaw. So you can't just impose new conditions that aren't required under the bylaw. So my suggestion would be that depending on what the decision is around the soil permit, that a subsequent motion could be made to investigate the monitoring options, and that keeps the two issues separate and doesn't get us into a challenging situation. So that was my suggestion. I don't think there's any lack of desire. I see a lot of heads nodding around the concerns around the monitoring. But again, we just have to keep those two swords uncrossed, if you will, because we're talking about the framework of a bylaw and a soil permitting regime versus the water monitoring. That's just my suggestion, but I would put it through to staff on maybe a suggestion on how we can move forward.
No, Mr. Chair, you're exactly right. These are two separate issues, and certainly water quality monitoring in the Shawnigan watershed is a much broader issue than a very specific area that we were dealing with in Gobble Hill. So there would have to be a fair bit of work put into a model for that monitoring. What it would include, it's a very complex issue, and so I think you're exactly right. If the board is so inclined, should request staff to come back with some options as to how to address that and potential funding sources to do that work.
Thank you. And I just was trying to sever the two issues because we're talking about electoral area directors only voting on a soil deposit permit. And so I didn't want the discussion to go into this separate monitoring issue, but I'll go to Director Marsh. I think I saw Director Morrison and Salmon. Any others that I missed? Go to Mr. McDonald while I put this list together, and then I'll go back to Director Marsh and then Morrison and then Salmon. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just would like to clarify a couple of things. So through public input, there was some question about some testing that was done. So I did look into that, and I contacted Ministry of Environment. So that testing was done back in 2012. So they tested multiple areas, and it didn't trigger enough for them to do any follow-up. So it actually got the places, and a number of them put on the site registry. But it being on the site registry, just for clarification, doesn't necessarily mean it's a contaminated site. It just means that there was testing done. So what I'm trying to say is that in this case, that although it was recognized that there was some elevated levels, I'm not sure they even crossed any threshold that triggered anything from Ministry of Environment to return. So that was confirmed this morning at a conversation with them. I've also had a conversation with our consultant looking at ways of what we could look at for water monitoring. And really what was suggested, what others are doing by our consultants, is that they're looking at the settling ponds. And really we're talking about clean soil coming in, so there really shouldn't be contaminants, but really we're looking at sediment. So if you have a large site that comes in, how are the settling ponds being handled? And is there runoff going into streams such as Van Horn Creek and things like that? So that's what they're looking at, that kind of testing. They're not really looking at testing for chemicals, such as chemicals shouldn't even be coming onto the site. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have Directors Marsh, Morrison, and then Salmon. Director Marsh.
Yeah, I think, Mr. McDonald, if that's for sure that it's clean soil, then the reason I put my hand up was I know we don't get to vote on this, but we do get to pay for the legal bills if it doesn't work out. But I hear Mr. McDonald saying he's confident that this is clean soil. So I'll just let it go on to the next person.
Thank you. Director Morrison and then Salmon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think your analysis is pretty bang on, and I think that all of us are concerned about water quality, especially surface water, and you know, to a large extent subsurface. But I think that the issue here is the issuance of a permit. There's additional information in here about the applicant having a public information meeting with the community. I think that's a separate issue, and I'd be the first to put up my hand in favor of a preliminary sort of baseline testing of the areas in that around this permit area, just as a baseline. But I think Mr. Crothers has pointed out that there are some issues around what we should be testing for and provincial jurisdiction. But I would be absolutely in favor if there was a subsequent resolution to ask staff to provide a report as to how and what we could do. I think we could find the money to do it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Salmon.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that makes sense. I mean, my only thought in bringing it up now is that with the public meeting coming up, if there was a chance there would be interesting cooperation with the owner, it would all go smoothly. So if we want to keep that separate, I'd also be happy to just move the referral back to staff for a report on how we can do that kind of baseline.
Thank you.
Monitoring.
So again, we do have, I believe, moved and seconded the actual permit itself, and then that would be a subsequent motion that could be introduced depending on the outcome of this motion. So if there's no further speakers to the resolution that's on the floor, I'll call the question for electoral area directors only. All those in favor and opposed? None opposed, motion carries. And I heard Director Morrison made a heck of a motion. I don't know if that's sufficient or if he wanted to maybe present it again and see if the committee, or sorry, the board grants that.
Did Ms. Legault get what I said, or should I repeat it?
I may have parts of it, but you should repeat it.
I'll, from memory, move that the staff be directed to prepare a report on preliminary baseline testing for surface water in the area and report back as to a possible program for future monitoring.
Thank you. And I believe that was seconded by Director Martman. And discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the Director Marsh.
I'm not clear if I vote on this or not.
I would put that through to staff. I think this would be a board resolution to direct staff to bring back information. Would it be a full board vote? Yeah. Okay, so it would be a full board vote. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. And I'm waiting for Director Yanni DiNardo's closing.
That is my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I feel like I'm stepping on toes. I don't.
Mr. Crothers has his hand up as well.
Mr. Crothers.
I just wanted to remind the electoral area directors that you will have an opportunity to provide some direction to staff as well with regard to the soil bylaw amendments. So you want to flag that that item, because that'll also be something that you may want to be considering in terms of future amendments.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that means I believe we're moving on. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item SR1 is a staff report from Emergency Management on the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund EOC grant application. And the staff recommendation is that a grant application in the amount of $198,365 be submitted to UBCM in a regional project with partners in Cowichan Tribes, City of Duncan, Malahat Nation, Municipality of North Cowichan, Town of Lake Cowichan, Town of Ladysmith, the Sinamis First Nation, and where the CVRD will be the recipient of and manage all of the partners' funds for the regional project for the purpose of Emergency Operations Center communications equipment under the CEPF initiative.
Thank you. Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Nicholson. Any discussion? Director Martman.
Just a question through the staff on this. The way I read it is that this didn't maximize the amount of the grant. If you added all the different areas in as, I don't know, as part of the request. And I was wondering why that was the case, because I see this as a fairly important issue to try to get everything up and current, especially around interoperability between different departments. Maybe to comment on that?
Mr. Gervais.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Director Martman. It's a good question, and Director Martman, to all the directors. I think the challenge in some cases is to be able to develop the scope of the program. So the end product and services to be able to match the money. I think in this case, our staff, April and Merrick, worked really hard with a pretty diverse group of partners, 3 First Nations and 4 municipal partners, to be able to develop a scope of services in a short timeline to be able to create the regional program. And it involves, as you can see in the application, quite a diverse set of equipment and services and programs. And effectively, they built it for need and then looked at what the cost was in the end, as opposed to looking at it from how much money is there to spend, and go backwards from there. I mean, some of this meets capacity. It meets our staff's capacity to be able to purchase equipment, to be able to put the program together, to work with the partners, work with our volunteer teams. There's new services that are being built here. So it's what's our staff capacity to be able to build that out. And in this particular case, that equaled just short of $200,000. There might have been a little bit of money left on the table, but for everybody's sake, I'm really proud of this particular application and the last couple that you've seen come through, because we are taking a lead role to work with our partners to be able to bundle together that money that's available through UBCM, 100% free money that is available. And there's been many occasions in the past where we've left that, where our partners have left that money on the table. And now our staff, specifically April and Merrick, are taking a lead role to get together with our partners, with our partner staff, and be able to develop some of these programs. So it might not be every available penny, but it's pretty effective work by our staff.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director Martin?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak in favor of this. It's it's so important, and just being able to stay current requires funding every year. So I just applaud them for what they're doing, and hopefully to encourage them to max out every dollar they can get.
Agreed. Any further discussion? Director Smith.
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions for staff. I was wondering, where does Islands Trust and the Gulf Islands for Area G fit into this, and also the Penelakut tribe when it comes to this? Can you please give me a bit of an update on that?
Go to Mr. Gervais.
Thank you. Through the chair. Thank you, Director Smith. So I know that Penelakut Island is an active part of our regional service, and Merrick works very closely with the chief and the administrator over there to include them in all of our programming. In terms of Islands Trust, we haven't done work with Islands Trust up until now, and I know they're not an active part of this project. So I'm sorry, I'm void of a specific response with regards to that, Director Smith.
Okay, follow up.
Yes, I know that the Gulf Islands and Area J do fund the Budget 205. So I'm just wondering if there was some way that they fit into this emergency response.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. Director Smith, yeah, sorry, and maybe I should be more specific. So more specific with a general response that this is a all-reaching regional program that's being proposed here. So this is completely deployable to all of our partners throughout the region. So including your area, of course. So this is there's specific partners that are investing in this, but there's a full understanding that it is completely deployable to all corners of our region.
Thank you. I was going to remark that the partners are contributing their sort of percentage of funding opportunities to the regional, but it benefits every resident in every corner of the region. Through to sorry, I heard somebody was speaking. No, okay, Director Marsh.
Yes, I'm not sure what, and I don't know what the operations manager's name is, but it was a great, I loved what you said about your staff. But the question that Director Smith raised for me was, I'm not sure if by that last answer, that means Islands Trust is covered by this. Through you
to the staff, not the Islands Trust as a whole, but the islands within the CVRG's jurisdiction would be.
Right. So we don't have I was just thinking of being creative, like, could we join with them, or is that just not something that's done, kind of like one of the old-fashioned?
I'll put it through to staff. I believe we were responsible for the islands within our jurisdiction within Islands Trust. Islands Trust can also apply for their own initiatives, but we don't provide emergency services to the rest of the Islands Trust, whereas we do for all of the other partners in this application. But I don't know if staff has anything else to lend to that conversation.
So I can, Mr. Chair. So you're correct. Islands Trust is primarily land use planning and land use regulation. We provide services to the islands with regard to building inspection and other services. So Director Smith's comments have been taken under advisement. We have a coordination meeting coming up with Islands Trust, and we can flag that for a topic of conversation with them as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think that's a great creative idea, Director Smith. Thank you, Mr. Crothers.
Thank you. Mr. Gervais, did you have anything to add?
I think your answer was, thank you, Mr. Chair. Your answer was perfect. Your response was perfect. The only thing I would add to that is, of course, Merrick works with all of the various agencies throughout our region, from the South Island all the way through up to the North Island, to ensure interoperability, in emergency between us, to support each other, etc. So,
yeah, thank you. And the local governments that have the other responsibilities, like we do for the islands, within Islands Trust, like the CRD and others, will locally that provide emergency services to those islands, may very well be exploring those opportunities as well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to bylaws. Item B1, CVRD bylaw 4232, Sewer Systems Regulatory and Management bylaw 2021 for first, second, and third readings.
Didn't get to finish my drink. You were so fast. Moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Acton. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CVRD bylaw 4232, Sewer Systems Regulatory and Management bylaw 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item B2, CVRD bylaw 4355, Missachi Lake Sewer System Service Amendment Boundary Extension bylaw 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CVRD bylaw 4376, Sentinel Ridge Sewer System Service Amendment bylaw 2021 for adoption.
Thank you. Moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item B4, CVRD bylaw 4377, Cobble Hill Village Sewer System Service Amendment bylaw 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Wilson, seconded by Director Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item BEA1 for Electoral Area Director, CVRD bylaw 4289, Electoral Area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls Zoning Amendment bylaw for PID 009845526, Cowichan Lake Road, 2019 for adoption.
Thank you. Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. This is for electoral area directors only. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Director Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a brief comment about this, and I'm just want to bring to everyone's attention the fact that this came before the Electoral Area Services Committee about 14 months ago. And the recommendation from staff at that point was to proceed forward, to go to public notice, and to proceed along that lines. Committee made a decision to go to a public hearing, which was held on March the 3rd. Third reading was given, and sadly, I think in this case, the work that will need to be done to complete this work, and I believe this is about a 3 to 4 year application. It's likely this applicant will miss the opportunity to get his product to the market. I'm just bringing this to everyone's attention because, and I'm not laying this at staff's feet. There were some covenants that needed to be registered, but we're well in excess of a year now from a public hearing to this finally being adopted. I'd like to ask especially my electoral area colleagues to think about that as we're continuing to process applications. We're taking far too long to get business out the door. And this is an example where I actually went and looked up the public hearing date was March the 3rd, 2020. And we've got to be able to do things faster than this. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment. Ms. Legault, I believe that takes us to question period.
That's correct.
Sorry, Director Marsh.
Yeah, I understand the frustration when things take a lot of time. And I'm thinking that likely, given we just came through the first year in COVID, that might have had something to do with it. So I'm sure staff did their best.
Thank you. Okay, question period, Ms. Legault.
I have not received anything yet. Did you want to take a recess or?
Oh yeah, sorry, we do take a recess, and maybe once we smooth out the kinks with the live question period, we could do away with the 10-minute recess, but we'll take it.
Cameras live.
Thank you. And so we're back for question period, and Ms. Legault.
I've just brought Ms. Kaufman into the meeting.
Hello, Ms. Kaufman. Miss.
Hi.
Hi, there you are.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I don't really have a question today. I'd like to say though that, and I'll get to that, so don't tell me I'm not doing things properly just yet. Just some really interesting items on today's agendas, and really appreciated the knowledge that was gained from them. I had asked you a question last week, and I believe you were going to get back to me, so I was going to give you an opportunity to do that.
Sorry, I haven't been able to sort of get that all sorted out and get back to you. It wouldn't be in the meeting. It would be following up via email, and I will do that. There's been a couple of challenges in this week that have precluded that from happening, specifically around my email, but I will do that for you in the next 48 hours.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, Ms. Legault?
I had sent an invitation to Mr. Evans at his request. However, he has not joined the meeting, so I'm not sure if it's a technical issue or he changed his mind.
Okay, well, we can follow up with Mr. Evans. He knows how to reach us. And that would, I guess, then conclude question period for today. Thank you. Sorry, I'm having bandwidth issues again. My screen's jumping around. So Ms. Legault, then I believe we need a motion to go into closed session.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Motion to go into closed session in accordance with the Community Charter, Section 91A, C. Sorry, just cross-checking my E and K and 92B.
Thank you. And that's moved by Director Marsh, seconded by Director Nicholson.
I also have a question, Chair Stone, if I could. Are we staying in this meeting, Ms. Legault, or are we signing out?
Ms. Legault?
We'll be going to the next meeting that was sent to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. I'll call the question then. All those in favor and opposed? None opposed, and we'll see you all in just